History is full of unexpected twists and strange tales that defy belief. Some of these stories are so bizarre they seem like fiction, yet they are completely true. If you enjoy learning about these strange and amazing moments from the past, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more fascinating historical content. Number 5. Violet Jessup. The tale of Violet Jessup exemplifies the unusual stories from history waiting to be uncovered. Born in Argentina to Irish immigrant parents in 1887, Violet's life was a constant struggle for survival, a theme that persisted into adulthood. In her early years, she contracted tuberculosis and faced severe health challenges, with doctors warning her parents that she might not survive. Defying expectations, Violet overcame the illness and went on to lead a fulfilling life. At just 16, following her father's death, her family relocated to England in search of a better future. Violet's mother, Catherine, worked as a stewardess on commercial ships while Violet cared for her younger siblings. Inspired by her mother, Violet pursued a career as a stewardess after finishing school, unknowingly embarking on a remarkable journey that would become one of history's greatest survival stories. In 1910, Violet began her tenure on the RMS Olympic, the largest civilian ship of its time. For the first year, her experience was positive, and she looked forward to her future. However, on September 20th, 1911, everything changed when the RMS Olympic collided with the HMS Hawk in an unexpected accident. Fortunately, no fatalities occurred, and the ship returned to Southampton without sinking. This incident deeply affected Violet, who chose not to discuss it, even in her memoirs. Despite the trauma, she continued on the RMS Olympic for another year. Having survived one maritime disaster, she might have thought she was safe, but fate had other plans. On April 10, 1912, Violet boarded the RMS Titanic, unaware that her dream job would soon become a nightmare. As we know, on April 14, 1912, the Titanic struck an iceberg and sank in the North Atlantic. In a remarkable twist, Violet survived by boarding a lifeboat, which was later rescued by search crews, bringing all aboard to New York City. After arriving in New York, Violet returned to Southampton, shaken but resolute in her desire to sail again. 4 years after the Titanic disaster, Violet joined the British Red Cross and served on the HMHS Britannic, which had been transformed from a commercial liner into a hospital ship during World War I. Mysteriously, the HMHS Britannic sank on November 21, 1916, and historians remain puzzled about the cause. As the chaos unfolded, stewardesses, patients, and staff jumped into lifeboats striving to survive. In her memoirs, she described the ship's demise. The white pride of the ocean's medical world dipped her head a little, then a little lower and still lower. All the deck machinery fell into the sea like a child's toys. Then she took a fearful plunge, her stern rearing hundreds of feet into the air until with a final roar, she disappeared into the depths. Violet barely escaped the sinking of the HMHS Britannic, only discovering a year later that she had suffered a fractured skull. After surviving 3 maritime disasters, she continued her career as a stewardess on cruise liners and large vessels. Many regarded her as the luckiest woman alive, earning her the nickname Miss Unsinkable. Violet passed away in 1971 at the age of 83, and while she is no longer with us, her survival story endures. Number 4. Mithridates VI. Mithridates VI, also known as Mithridates the Great, ruled the Kingdom of Pontus from 120 BC to 63 BC. He was acutely aware of the political landscape and recognized that the Roman Empire had a penchant for eliminating rulers perceived as threats. Those around him considered him paranoid, but in the context of Roman politics, his concerns were justified. Rulers were frequently betrayed, and it was only a matter of time before he faced similar challenges. While other leaders opted for traditional methods like hiring bodyguards and maintaining small inner circles, Mithridates took a different approach. He believed that to avoid being poisoned, he needed to consume small doses of poison daily to build immunity. Through extensive research, he also developed Antidotum Mithridaticum, an antidote by mixing various herbs. Unfortunately for Mithridates, his strategy backfired, leading to his demise. Mithridates engaged in numerous battles against Roman generals from 88 BC to 65 BC, ultimately facing defeat at the hands of Pompey the Great. Pompey's forces proved too powerful, and Mithridates, unwilling to be captured or labeled a failure, attempted to ingest various poisons. However, his body had developed a tolerance. His years of paranoia and experimentation ultimately led to an unexpected end. After failing to end his life through poison, he commanded his servants to use a sword to finish the job. Number 3. Darius the Wizard Slayer. Darius the Great, known as Darius the Wizard Slayer, has one of history's most bizarre ascensions to the throne. Although Darius came from a royal lineage, complicated family dynamics placed him near the bottom of the list for succession. This situation fueled Darius's anger, prompting him to devise a plan to claim the Persian throne. One summer evening in 522 BC, Darius found himself in the palace of Bardia, the reigning king, and seized the moment to take what he believed was rightfully his. He eliminated Bardia, but was caught by several magi who heard the commotion. When confronted, Darius claimed that the man before them was not the true King Bardia, but a shape-shifting wizard. He explained that this wizard had usurped the throne while the real king was absent. Darius insisted that he had acted to remove the impostor once he recognized the deception. The Magi were bewildered, unsure of how to react to such an extraordinary claim. They convened to deliberate whether Darius was telling the truth. At this juncture, Darius's fate hung in the balance, and he feared he had gone too far. Surprisingly, the Magi concluded that Darius must be truthful, as it seemed implausible that someone would fabricate such a tale. They could not fathom that anyone would be cunning enough to invent a story about a wizard impersonating the king. Following their decision, Darius ascended to the throne and earned the title Darius the Wizard Slayer, ruling Persia until his death in 486 BC. Number 2. Yi Sun-sin. Yi Sun-sin is hailed as a national hero in Korea for his courageous efforts against Japanese invaders in the 1500s, though he was not always regarded as such. In 1576, Yi joined the Korean army, pledging to defend his homeland. At that time, Korea was embroiled in conflict with Japan for dominance. The wars between the two nations persisted for centuries until Korea was annexed by Japan in 1910 and later divided into two countries after the Korean War. The looming threat of Japanese invasion was a constant concern for Koreans, who made every effort to preserve their sovereignty and dynasties. For young men in Korea, this meant enlisting in the military to protect their homeland. Yi excelled in the government-mandated military exams, quickly securing positions in both the army and navy. He thrived in the military, earning medals and accolades from high-ranking officials. However, Yi's brilliance drew envy from his superiors, who feared he overshadowed them. In the 1580s, they conspired against him, falsely accusing him of desertion during battle. This serious allegation led to Yi being stripped of his ranks and subjected to harsh punishment and imprisonment. After serving his sentence, Yi was determined to rejoin the army and prove his worth. He was reinstated and, as before, rapidly ascended to the rank of commander. As commander, Yi ensured his troops were well prepared and equipped for any challenge. His strategic foresight allowed the Korean army on the southern coast to repel the invading Japanese forces, effectively cutting them off from advancing. Had Yi not returned to the army and attained command, the battle's outcome might have been drastically different. Number 1. Cats and the Black Death. Between 1346 and 1353, the Black Death ravaged the world, claiming millions of lives. This outbreak had a devastating impact on European populations and remains a significant chapter in human history and epidemiological studies. The Black Death spread primarily through rats infested with infected fleas, which would hide on ships and scurry to land once docked. However, one animal that history often overlooks during this period may have played a crucial role: cats. Domesticated for centuries, cats faced mass culling during the Black Death, leading to dire consequences for humans. Pope Gregory IX ignited anti-cat sentiments by labeling them diabolical, due to their independent behavior. Superstitious beliefs linked cats to witchcraft, and the anti-cat movement gained momentum, resulting in a rapid decline in their population. While Europeans celebrated the removal of these so-called evil creatures, they failed to recognize a critical fact. Cats help control rat populations. Without them, rats proliferated unchecked, allowing the plague to spread more rapidly, causing significant suffering. It wasn't until later that people began to notice that those who owned cats seemed less affected by the plague. This realization led to the understanding that rats were the true culprits behind the outbreak, and cats were not demonic after all. Gradually, demand for cats increased, and they have since been recognized alongside dogs as cherished companions.